Let me just say right up front, no matter how you feel about the picks on this list, I know for a fact that my number one pick is certainly very special. I have truly only seen a small itty-bitty fraction of the horror community even discussing this film, and I cannot wait to talk about it. But even going beyond my number one pick, I can safely say that this is not going to be your stereotypical Halloween horror movies list. No, we're not going to be talking about Michael Myers. We're not even going to be discussing a Terrifier movie. We're not going to have any mainstream picks on this list whatsoever. And if y'all know me, I got to get into the gross, the macabre, the downright demented, the real nasty, icky, truly disturbing stuff. So let's not waste any more time and get right on into the list, of course starting off with my number 5 pick. Kicking things off in my number 5 spot, I of course have to go with what I consider to be one of the most underappreciated and underseen Halloween horror gems. And that's why I'm going with 2023's Dark Harvest. In a small Midwestern town, a deadly annual ritual unfolds when the mythical nightmare Sawtooth Jack rises from the cornfields and challenges the town's teenage boys in a bloody battle of survival. It's unfortunate to say, but I think that Dark Harvest really suffered from the same fate that our beloved Trick or Treat did back in the early 2000s. This movie was slated to come out. There was a big studio behind this, putting a lot of money into it, and they just had no faith in it. It kind of got caught up with the pandemic, so it kind of got shelved for a couple years. But I mean, you had a really, really solid group of people working on this film. I mean, not only was this movie based off of a pretty popular horror novel, it was directed by David Slade, the guy behind 30 Days of Night, Hard Candy, and strangely enough, one of the Twilight movies. But even putting all that aside, this is still a movie that, at least in my opinion, really lands when it comes to both its Halloween aesthetics, really getting you into the feel for the holiday, but also delivering quite a punch when it comes to things like its disturbing imagery, its gore, and certainly a fun little twist, which I won't spoil. I mean, this movie kind of unfolds like a Disney Channel original Halloween film, but like for adults. You have a bunch of 18, 16, 17-year-old boys who are forced every year by their town to contend with a character known as Sawtooth Jack, who is this Pumpkinhead-esque monstrous creation that I absolutely adore. And they do some really messed up but really cool stuff with that character. But don't get me wrong, Sawtooth Jack is not the only one who's doing some rather messed up stuff. We got a lot of, people-on-people violence here, a lot of betrayal, a lot of twists, a lot of turns that are really fun to discover. But even beyond that, there's a lot of gruesome body horror imagery in this movie, which, you know me, I absolutely adore. Like, towards the beginning of this film, we watch as this group of boys basically takes down Sawtooth Jack before he can get to his destination, and they end up ripping him apart and eating him. And at first you're like, whoa, like, what are they doing? Like, this is really wild. But then you slowly start to realize that the guts, the internals of Sawtooth Jack are legitimate pieces of candy. Like, I'm not making that up. It's candy. This to me is a movie that I think's balance is kind of perfect in a sense. You know, we have a lot going on in this story in such a short amount of time, but nothing feels left behind. It feels very satisfying, and it is something I really look forward to watching every single Halloween since I first saw it. In my book, I put Dark Harvest up there with things like Trick or Treat, the original Halloween, as just something that I have to watch every year now. Again, I love the creativity here. They also have this whole 1960s Midwestern aesthetic that I think is really cool, because then we can kind of get into this atmosphere of, like, you know, do we trust the bigger powers that be? Is there a little bit more to Sawtooth Jack? Is he really a monster? I'll leave that all for you to discover when you watch Dark Harvest. Moving right along into my number 4 pick, we have 2016's The Void. Shortly after delivering a patient to an understaffed hospital, a police officer experiences strange and violent occurrences seemingly linked to a group of mysterious hooded figures. It has been quite a while since I've had a chance to really discuss and cover The Void. This is a movie I absolutely love. If I had to really kind of put a comparison on for this one, this is like what would happen if John Carpenter's The Thing had a baby with Clive Barker's Hellraiser. Putting the body horror stuff aside for a second, I do want to highlight just how awesome this movie feels. Like, this truly, in my heart of hearts, feels like an 80s horror film. Like, I love throwing this thing on around this time of year because it's got all of the tropes and all the things that we love from 80s horror. I mean, you've got small town, middle of nowhere, we're just basically barely getting by kind of scenario here at a hospital. And then you also have on top of that, just you're dealing with a sheriff, somebody who's kind of watching over everybody, really just the basic players that we've come to expect from these kind of stories. And that's all fine and good, but what takes this movie up to a 10 is the fact that Jeremy Gillespie and Steven Kostanski, they did not skimp out on the effects budget. They put all of the money, I think, and all of their time and effort into making some of the most disgusting, disturbing, and downright just demonic looking slimy bastards that I've ever seen just permeate the screen. I mean it when I say that these creatures, these effects that we see on this movie, they are like a 1-to-1 up there with me for John Carpenter's The Thing. Like, they are clearly inspired by that. But like I said earlier, there's also a lot of Hellraiserisms to this movie.
I lost my daughter to the abyss, but tonight I am calling her back.
I mean, once we get past really the first act, we really start to dive deep into the bowels of this hospital. It seems like we're on this trek, this path that's never ending, just finding all of these horrific, otherworldly monsters. And there's time dilation, there's reality warping. Sometimes people are seeing these creatures and sometimes they're seeing things that aren't actually there. It really plays with your mind, and at the center of all of it is Dr. Richard Powell, who is kind of like our arbiter here. He is the one shepherding our people through this hospital and getting them to the final conclusion, which I will not spoil. I love introducing this movie to people. It's one of my probably top 5 movies that I'm always out here recommending because it is a movie that I think really lands all the marks that it's trying to get. And I think truly where some of this comes from as well is just the fact that this is a movie that was, again, just like Dark Harvest, trying to be buried. This is a movie that hardly had any studio marketing behind it. They literally did all of this themselves. The team behind this basically built their entire career on the back of this little cosmic horror, body horror movie. It's very admirable, and I love the product. I think it's something that everybody I've ever recommended this movie to has always just spoken positively about, so I had to put it on this list because not only is it gross and disgusting, but I think this is probably going to go down as one of the all-time greats of probably my generation. Moving right along into my third pick, we have 2008's Lake Mungo. 16-year-old Alice Palmer drowns while swimming in the local dam. When her body is recovered and a verdict of accidental death is returned, her grieving family buries her. The family then experiences a series of strange and inexplainable events. For some of you seasoned horror fans, this one is certainly no stranger to actually scary lists, or people just basically calling this the scariest movie ever made. You know, that gets thrown around quite a bit when you start diving into the depths of Lake Mungo.
You scared of dying?
Yeah, of course I'm scared of dying. Isn't everyone scared of dying?
Lake Mungo is a very special movie. I don't care what all the haters are saying in the comments right now. This movie hits on basically every single level of just what I look for in a pure, masterful, perfectly executed found footage or mockumentary style film.
I mean, the Palmers weren't coping well at all at that point. Things were very bad. They were doing it tough.
The film is only an hour and 27 minutes long, but like, you go through so much with this family. The Palmers are our main focus here, and we are literally watching them basically be interviewed about the grief and the loss of their daughter. And with them, their son, and this therapist that they've been working with, they've all kind of gotten to this point with trying to grieve this loss, trying to get over it, that they have questions. They have some things that have been happening, some experiences around their house, around their home, all surrounding their, deceased daughter, that really is making them question whether or not they're dealing with her spirit or her ghost or whatever you consider it to be.
And it wasn't until the next day that Matthew was reviewing the footage that there was an image of Alice.
Yes, that is only one piece to this puzzle, because Lake Mungo takes a very, very strange twist. It takes multiple. Like, I want to say there's like 3 or 4 twists throughout this movie, all of which will have you kind of just scratching your head and being like, wait, whoa, what? And you will go from loving characters to really, really being suspicious of some of them and their intentions. And the beauty of all of this is that it feels so authentic. It feels like these people are a real family who are grieving a real loss, but are also experiencing things we can't explain. Nothing feels like actors on a set throughout any of this. This could literally be passed off as a real documentary, and I think that you would fool 90% of the people who you show it to.
Really, really wanted there to have been somebody else's kid in that dam, a runaway, a murder victim. Just anybody else's, just so long as it wasn't my kid, just so long as it wasn't Alice.
And that idea kind of rings through just about every facet of this film, because even upon its release, it didn't get a very wide release. This thing was pretty much like put out with no marketing, and it was just word of mouth really that kind of bolstered this movie's, eventual status. But it's one of those things where it's like they literally stuck to their guns, just like they did with the original Blair Witch, on we're just going to put this out there and see what happens. That takes courage, and Joel Anderson, the director and writer here, has really not done anything else other than maybe produce a couple of things. And it's really one of those things that just in and of itself is a mystery. And I think that I love that about this. This is a film that my buddy Evan over at Rockland Graves has covered extensively. He's got a wonderful video on there. Go ahead and check that out. But this is certainly a movie that if you've never seen it, and you want something that's going to potentially, I need to kind of preface this by saying, yes, potentially get under your skin, because this is also one of those ones that it's like, it really just depends on the person, I think. I think it depends on just how well you can buy into this concept, how well you can buy into this story. And I think undoubtedly the very end of this movie is that make it or break it point for you. I think that is what makes it for people or breaks it. I love this movie as a whole. I loved studying it. It is a movie that is both emotional, terrifying. I mean, there's really not a whole lot of bad stuff I could even say. This to me is the gold standard when it comes to found footage and found footage horror at that. I think this is what everybody should strive for. This impact, this punch, and just really embrace the simplicity and the underground nature of this medium. I love Lake Mungo, and I hope if you haven't seen it that maybe you'll choose this one for your Halloween night. And coming in at the runner-up spot, yes, my number 2 pick. Many of you saw this one coming, but I have to go with 2023's Infested. Residents of a rundown French apartment building battle against an army of deadly, rapidly reproducing spiders. I've always been a fan of giant spider movies. Eight-Legged Freaks is a blast. I love Arachnophobia. That's probably the greatest spider film of all time. Hell, even in 2023, we had another film called Sting that I really enjoyed. But I gotta be honest, no movie has made me basically gag and just like uncontrollably like shake and shiver quite like Infested did. You gotta understand, the first time I watched this movie, I am sitting in my bedroom. I'm basically laying down for the evening. I'm watching it on a screener for review, and I had to stop it because I just kept feeling spiders crawling up my legs, under my blankets, everything. It just was a feeling I could not get rid of. And that's how I knew I was dealing with something really special here. I dare anybody to watch this one moment out of this film that takes place in a bathroom and just not get the shivers. I love and adore how Sebastian Vennick shot these spiders and how he chose to utilize them. I'm going to say that for 98% of this movie. There is a little bit at the end that I will just say out loud. It is a bit of a spoiler, so if you do want that saved for you, you can jump ahead just 30 seconds here. But the spiders, unfortunately, do get really big by the end of this movie. There's a big, awesome shootout scene in a parking garage. It's great, but the spiders are comically large, and I will admit that that's really when the fear aspect, all that kind of went away for me. But really, I look at that as the crescendo to this otherwise just very impactful, very, very unsettling monster spider horror flick. They really love to play with your expectations and time with this movie. Like, you will see spiders just in the background, climbing around everywhere, long before our characters even notice that they're there. And I love that. It really does add that primal itch and twitch where you're just like, oh, I just get away from it. Go away. You don't know that that's there. Or, God forbid, it's crawling on something that you're about to touch. Or, as we see a couple of times in the movie, people putting their shoes on and not checking the inside of them, which I'm very guilty of. That could have been me. And really what I think amps this movie up and makes it so scary when you're dealing with spiders is it's raw. Like, there's really no holds bar. You could say it's almost comical how, like, mean and vicious these spiders are, but I don't know, it just works for me. It just really gets under my skin. I think about these amazing, incredible shots in this movie where our characters are going up these steps and they have like a big like lighter and like a little bit of a torch. They're trying to like ward back these spiders because they won't come near the fire. And as they're going up the steps, like, you just see these, like, lurking huge shadows just, like, above them and aside them of just hundreds and hundreds of spiders just in the shadows. It's like, it all just, it's so horrifying. But beyond all the scares and all the vicious imagery here, we do have a pretty good story at its heart, a story about, you know, kind of relationships and just what we do and how we interact with people and when we kind of push people away. It's got a very good moral heart to it. And I gotta say, I cannot wait to see what this director, after seeing him helm this, will do with the upcoming Evil Dead. Yes, Sebastian Vennick is doing Evil Dead Burn, and the dude knocked this out of the park, and I think his sensibilities are just ripe for an Evil Dead story. So if he can take this and basically insert that feeling of just pure terror, pure unsettling, just uncomfortableness that he gave me with this film into the Evil Dead franchise, boy, we will have another amazing entry, and I cannot wait to see that. Alrighty, folks, we are here, and yes, as promised, this is a pick. It is a movie that I know most of you, I would say there's a large sect of the population who has not seen this film yet. So let's just get right into it with, of course, my number one pick being 2025's Dream Eater. A filmmaker documents her boyfriend's violent parasomnia during their holiday at a remote cabin in the woods. And as his sleepwalking gets worse, she believes the cause might be something far more sinister. Let me come right out and say that no, this is not something that the filmmakers asked me to do. This is completely something that I'm doing on my own accord because, yes, this is a movie that we have a review coming out for. It is already shot and will be posted, depending on when you're seeing this, tomorrow. But it just so happened that I was recording this list of all lists, and I watched this movie kind of in between working on this. And guys, this is a movie that you absolutely need to go check out this Halloween season. If you're a fan of found footage horror, this to me is a really, really solid entry. Just like all the other films, especially things like Lake Mungo that we discussed here, this movie hits on many of those same facets. It is something that is both very, very raw and very much like you can tell that this is a movie made by people on a shoestring budget, but it only services the story. And with that, you have these performances from, you know, our main two actors here who are friends in real life and have been for a long time. So there's this natural quality to it. And I kid you not, when you kind of settle into that and then you start piecing together what parasomnia is, what exactly this whole experiment, this journey our characters are going on, it opens up this really devastating nightmare that I cannot wait for you guys to experience.
Try to stop me. Try to stop me.
Because this film is about to have a limited theatrical run this Friday, yes, we're talking October 24th, 2025, I can't get too deep into the details of it, but I need you guys to trust me here that this is a very special film. If you know the channel and you've been watching my stuff for any length of time, you'll know that, like, I really love when you see somebody going the distance, making a movie, getting it done by any means necessary. And this team has done that with Dream Eater. Again, I love movies that have concepts that just wow me, that just make not only my brain tick with all the terrifying little horrible things that could happen from said concept, but they find something that adds this emotional weight to it that can really, like, you can put yourself in these characters' shoes in some spots. And that is very rare. That is something like Lake Mungo, but with the fear of something like Infested, where I can just feel how uncomfortable I'm getting by watching the movie. And I'll be honest, yes, this is going to be a movie that I think will divide audiences. I think it is going to have some people walking out, shaking their fists in the air like, oh, why? And then other people are going to just absolutely want to dissect and invest every little piece of information that we got out of this. But trust me when I say that there is a part of this movie that is actually kind of funny and very endearing. Again, it's these emotional beats that really lean into the terror and just the overall betrayal of this this relationship and these characters. I really cannot wait till everybody can experience Dream Eater. This is certainly something that, again, I wanted to get this video out quickly so that way I could talk about this and you guys could have a chance to support it. So yes, this should be coming out this Thursday, which is the 23rd, which means tomorrow this should be playing in select theaters. I do have a link in the description below for you to be able to find this if you do want to go out and support it. I mean, this movie really is just the definition of independent. It was literally made, went to a couple of festivals, had some positive reception. I heard about it from a couple of friends, and then it got picked up by Eli Roth, who has this thing going out to a theatrical release, which is just incredible. So please, if you think this is going to be up your alley, if you think this is going to scare you as much as it scared me, go out and support this. It's certainly worth your time. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to have a little bit more content going out for Dream Eater. Like I said, we'll have a review up tomorrow for this, as well as I do have an interview that I did with the filmmakers. They were gracious enough to sit down with me and let me gab on about my little theories and thoughts on their movie. And we had a great time. So I'm going to have the full interview up on Patreon, as well as a few pieces, snippets from that in the end portion of our review. So there's my list, folks. Yes, I got a little something in there for everybody, I feel. We got some practical effects, we got some scary, very real stuff, and then we also have a new movie, which I hope, again, you'll go out and support. I always love putting these together. I always love making this a grab bag, and the holiday being Halloween really just reinforces my love for horror and everything we discuss on this channel. So let me know down below, guys, what is a movie that actually scares you? Something that you're maybe gonna check out this Halloween, or something that you think I should check out. I'm always looking for recommendations. I'm always looking for what scared you, or what disturbed you, or what upset you, or any emotion is fine. If you like movies that are scary, I like them too. So put them my send them over. Either way, thank you guys for watching. If you're new here and you think we deserve it, please hit that subscribe button, as well as boost this video up with that like button and the hype button. And yeah, that'll wrap it up here. So until next time, guys, I'm Dylan Newell, and remember, stay scared.
Do the horse shit, gonna do it live, 'cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast, gonna smash your ass. 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 Splattercast, gonna smash your ass.